Have you ever started a new habit like working out, cooking a healthy meal from home, or journaling, only to give up a week later? You are not alone. In this episode, I share my real strategies to help you to stay consistent even when motivation runs out.
We can all agree that motivation is great, and at some point in our lives, we do need motivation. But what happens when the excitement wears off? What do you do when motivation fades? For most of my life, I had these beliefs about motivation, and definitely I integrated into my mind that they are facts. But in fact, doing my own work on motivation and studying what motivation is and how it works, etc., and going through this journey of consistency and practicing consistency every day, I found that these beliefs were just myths, and research also shows that these are just myths, they're not facts, and you may relate to this as well. So here's the 3 myths of motivation. First myth: motivation has to come before action. The fact is, often action precedes motivation. You taking those little steps every single day generates motivation as you see progress. So first you take action, then motivation, and then you take more action, because that's how it works. It doesn't work the other way around. You don't wait for motivation and then take action and then you will take more action, because if you wait for motivation, first of all, you could be waiting for days, weeks, months, even years without taking any action. And then finally, when you do have that motivation and you do take that action, it's not gonna really last for long if you're relying just on motivation. Because after motivation disappears, the action disappears and you can't take more action. So you're back to square one. Myth number 2, motivation is constant. Well, we all know that motivation is not constant, right? Every day it fluctuates. Our moods, depending what's happening in our life, and we're not always motivated. But structure, discipline, and habits bridge the gap of motivation. When you do not have motivation, you can rely on your discipline, on your structure, on your habits. And this is what I've learned. And honestly, when you learn these 3 things and apply into your life, especially building simple, not complicated, not perfect structure, that's when you're going to find your own motivation. But even at times when there's no motivation, you can rely on your habits, you can rely on overall the structure that you have built, and you are able to achieve what you want to achieve, because you're not just sitting and waiting when you're going to be ready, when you're going to have that feeling of motivation. Because as I said, you could be waiting for weeks and years, and trust me, I have done that. Myth number 3, you have to be motivated to start. The fact is, if we all wait for motivation in order to start something, like I said before, we will never start. We will procrastinate. More you wait for motivation, more you procrastinate. You allow your brain to think of more excuses why you shouldn't be doing that thing that you want to do. This is what happens all the time, and I have struggled very much with this, and even till this day I have to remind, because building that new skill of understanding not waiting for motivation and just sticking with being consistent doing something, and actually building right way structure that is right for me and not for anyone else, this is the key to your actual success in all areas of your life.
Motivation is helpful, but it's unreliable and not the sole factor in success. Rely on building habits, starting small, and stay consistent even when motivation is low. It took me a while to understand the power of consistency. Consistency is the key driver of lasting success, because small repeated actions compound over time to create significant results. Unlike bursts of effort or fleeting motivation, consistency builds habits, reinforces discipline, and steadily moves you towards your goals, even when progress feels slow.
These are some of my practical strategies to stay consistent that has helped me throughout the years, and of course I'm still implementing new ones and seeing what works, what doesn't work, but these are definitely the ones that are working. And you have to find your own way, what works for you, what not. You have to try it out. Without trying it out and listening to other people's advice or reading books on staying consistent, etc., it won't really change. You won't see a change in your life until you put those things that you know, the knowledge, in practice. So you have to put knowledge in practice in order to see the change. And I'm speaking here from experience. So I have been trying different ways, different strategies to see what works for me. A lot of them haven't worked, but here's my few ones that definitely work. So first one, habit tracking. It's important for you to track your habits. If you don't track your habits, then you don't know what progress that you have made or you didn't make. And sometimes when we keep everything in our head, we forget. So it's important to write it down. Whatever your habits are or habit that you want to practice this year, perhaps you want to keep the same habit from last year, or maybe you want to eliminate one habit and implement a new one into your daily routine. In order to do that the right way that will work for you, you need to visually see. So write on the piece of paper what your habit or habits are, and then you keep returning to them either at the end of the day or by the end of the week and review them and tick them off if you had followed them. My second practical strategy, make it easy. So make your habits or whatever you're doing, your actions, but mainly we're talking about habits, make them easy, make them attractive, don't make complicated. I know there is a lot of noise out there on the internet. There's lots of aesthetically pleasing images and videos and routines, morning and evening, etc. And sometimes we can get caught up on there and we think that we need to do that as well, but you don't. Be yourself and do what suits you and your lifestyle, not someone else, but your lifestyle. And this is what I tell myself. And honestly, life is much easier. So just make your habit easy. For example, you prepare a night before. So maybe for me personally, if I'm working out from home, sometimes I go to the gym and sometimes I'm working out from home if I don't go to the gym. So maybe lay your mat in the lounge or wherever you would work out if you're working out from home, and put all your equipments, if you are using any props or equipments working out, etc., lay them there, prepare them a night before, prepare your clothes as well, which ones you're going to wear. So you don't need to use those brain cells in the morning thinking, what shall I wear? What is comfortable? Maybe some of the clothes are not even washed and then you need to look through other working out clothes, etc. You get my point. But make your habit easy by preparing it. And also don't complicate it. You want to make sure your habit is as easy as it can be. So let's say if you're working out, maybe instead of doing 10 minutes in the morning, do it 5 minutes. 5 minutes every single day. Even if you only have 3 minutes, 3 minutes a day is still very good if you are consistent, because you're more likely to stay consistent if your habit is easy, attractive, appealing. You're more likely to get up and do that. So there is a book that I really love by James Clear, Atomic Habits. I have spoken about this in my previous videos, and maybe you have heard about this book because it's very popular, and honestly it's very, very good. I always recommend to anyone that I speak about habits, I speak about this book because truly it has helped me with implementing habits and understanding and staying consistent. Is an amazing book. I read this book twice and definitely going to read more. But if you haven't read this book or you haven't heard about this book, I highly recommend looking into this book and reading, because it will change your life, the way you look at habits, and it will help you to be consistent with your habits and actually integrate into your life, that it will just become automatic for you. Third practical strategy: forgive yourself for slip-ups and be resilient. It's okay if you fail. It's okay if you decide to exercise and then you don't keep up with it, you give up after a week. It's okay. What is not okay, when you blame yourself and you become a self-victim and you blame everyone else as well, and the environment and the situations, etc., and you just feel sorry for yourself. When you're in that state, and trust me, I have been there many times throughout my life, and when you're in that victim mindset, it's so hard to get out of there, and you never feel better, you never feel good, you're staying there, there's no progress, there's no movement or anything. You're waiting for your situations to change, for people to change, but you don't take the responsibility. But the fact is, it's your responsibility, it's your life. You can't wait on others, you can't wait on your circumstances, and you can't rely on external matters. You have to rely on yourself. And I know it's a hard pill to swallow. It has taken me a long time to understand, but this is the fact. And that's the last thing that I think you want, is to go to bed at the end of the day and blame yourself and think, oh, I should have done this, but I didn't do this, etc. I mean, that will happen. It still happens till this day to me, even though I practice all these things that I'm sharing with you. It still happens because we're humans, right? But what you can do is get up and continue. So even if you fail and it didn't work out for you, just get up and do it again. If you decided this year you want to tone up or lose weight, or purely you're doing for longevity, like body movement every single day, however you choose to do, and maybe it's not a natural thing, and then you give up because the circumstances come in life and the environment is not right for then you need to realize that no matter what, you can't wait on motivation. Just get up and do that. And if 1 week you didn't do, 2 weeks you didn't do, it's okay. Because on the third week, you can come back and do the same thing. And no matter how many times you fall, you can get up and do it again. And in that way, you're going to build resilience. And resilience is important in life, in any aspects of your life. And in order to build a good, long-lasting habits, you need to learn resilience. And this is the best way, when you forgive yourself and then you continue. Strategy number 4, create your environment. Whenever you want to practice or implement a new habit, you can't have other distractions. So this is a very good practical strategy that has been working a lot for me, especially if you are a person who reacts to your environment and you're very sensitive visually. I am personally, so I cannot focus on anything, let alone implementing a new habit and staying consistent with it when my environment is messy. For me personally, the environment needs to be clean. So make sure that your environment is to the level of your liking, because if it's not, then all you're going to think constantly is about your environment. If it's too noisy, or if it's too smelly, or if it's too messy or dirty, if your environment is not to your liking, you're going to be distracted constantly and you're going to divert your route to elsewhere, not to where you need to go. So you'll end up tidying up and cleaning and organizing things. For me personally, I like to tidy up my lounge a night before, so then I don't need to do it in the morning, and that energy is not being wasted on something that I could have done a night before. And then I'm focusing onto the habit that I want to practice. If you haven't seen my first episode of my first series, How You Can Change Your Life in 2026, then be sure you check it out. It's just up here. And thank you so much for watching. If you do like content like that, then be sure you like this video and subscribe for more, and I'll see you in my third episode. Bye bye for now.